I've been seeing a lot of discourse around the fall of Concord lately. There's so many videos out there critiquing the character design of the game, but I think they've all got it wrong because they're all missing one important thing. First, a quick primer on the history of Concord. Alright, here we go. Concord was a game that made waves in the news cycle for its incredibly dramatic downfall. It was a multiplayer hero shooter a la Overwatch and Battleborn, a game that was in development for 8 years that reportedly cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make and was basically DOA. 2 weeks after its launch in August, the game was shut down due to a lack of players. Sony had to issue refunds to the people that bought the game. It was a big deal. The internet understandably went wild over this dumpster fire of a release. There were countless articles and videos chronicling its failure and analyzing why it failed. And one of the main reasons cited for its failure was its lackluster character designs. Now, I've watched so many of these videos critiquing and fixing and redesigning the character designs of Concord, and as far as I can tell, there are two main critiques. Number one is that they can't goon to these characters. And number two is that it isn't Overwatch. Now the first one, we're just gonna ignore completely because it's not even worth speaking about, it's not even worth our time. The second one, however, is a little bit more interesting. Overwatch is constantly cited as this gold standard of character design. And in every video, and I mean every video I've watched, the character designs of Concord have been compared to the character designs of Overwatch. The main reasons being instant readability, functionality, and just general appeal. So let's first talk about these principles in the context of Overwatch. Instant readability is this idea that at a glance you understand what a character is supposed to do, because in a fast-paced action game, the player has but a few moments to register what's happening on screen. Farah shoots rockets and can fly, therefore she has a rocket launcher and looks like a bird. Reinhardt is a tank type character, so he has beefy armor and a shield. And Lucio is a healer because of his gun that makes it really obvious at a glance that he is a healer. Mercy looks like a healer because she looks like an angel, and angels are nice, and her staff looks like the Caduceus. And Ana, who looks like a healer because of her gun. And so we get to the missing part. I said it was one thing, it's actually two things, I'm sorry. The big one we'll get to in a second, which is context. The story of Overwatch is that it's an elite task force of heroes around the world gathered to fight the Omnics, which is some sort of an Avengers type thing. And each of these characters sometimes happen to represent their nationalities. So let's just go back to Farah for a second. Farah is Egyptian, and you can see that in her design motifs. Her helmet and overall shape is heavily inspired by falcons, whose imagery is prevalent in Egyptian iconography. Her color scheme is also a callback to the Egyptians' use of cerulean and gold. It's all a cohesive direction, and in the context of her story, it makes sense. But that's not what you're saying, is it? You're saying, let's make Farah a pigeon because she's a bird, she can fly, and bright color good, so let's make her red. Okay, that's actually fire. Blizzard, can we make this happen? All the time I see these generalized principles glommed onto criticism of Concord's design. Like round shape friendly and triangle is bad, dangerous because triangle sharp. So why character round? It's dangerous because there is a hint of truth to these principles. They're not wrong, but they must always be applied with context in mind. You cannot swing these axioms around willy-nilly. Try saying that 3 times really fast. Willy-nilly. You cannot swing these things around willy-nilly and expect them to be universally true. So let's talk about the context in which Concord exists in. Now, the world of Concord is heavily inspired by the designs of Jean Giraud, aka Mobius, and pulp science fiction. And looking at the concept art, that influence becomes even more apparent. Okay, so now that we know that, we can actually start critiquing Concord within its context. Perhaps the designs in 2D didn't translate as well into 3D. Is Mobius's color scheme just inherently unfeasible in a context of a realistic shooter? Maybe that art style fundamentally just doesn't have that much mass appeal.
Look man, I love Mobius, he's my hero. Maybe we're the only ones who like Mobius.
Us and the French.
It's like Radiohead, man. It's not Radiohead. Mobius is it's like Khruangbin. Khruangbin is good, but it's not top 40 material, you know? It's not Taylor Swift. Actually, I don't know if I believe that. I think more people should be listening to Krongbin.
Maybe looking at their influences, they're playing it too safe. These to me hold more weight because it comes with the understanding of the intentions behind the design. So when I see these redesign videos, I just completely ignore this direction and they just go off in their own little direction. To me, this doesn't make sense because you're completely ignoring what the game wants to be in the first place. You're completely going off task. Don't tell me that you have these principles that apply to good design when you don't even understand the brief to begin with. And these criticisms end up being a lot less constructive and frankly, it's myopic. Using Overwatch as an example is like critiquing a boxer by using MMA as an example. Like, dude, why don't you just kick him, dude? Just kick him.
Nah man, it's martial arts, but they're not the same thing.
No man, you gotta kick him. You gotta kick him. It's cool. You gotta kick his shin. Okay, let's talk about the one big thing. Stop right now and just think about the most iconic logos that you can think of right now. Is it Apple? Is it Nike? Is it McDonald's? You know what you didn't think of? That logo of a startup that just launched 2 months ago of a dating app, but instead of a dating app where you match with people, you match with like rescue dogs that you go on walks with. That's actually a great idea. That's actually such a great idea. Now, most people think the key to an iconic logo design, most graphic designers, every graphic designer wants to design the next Nike swoosh. Now, most people think that the key to an iconic logo design is balance, versatility, simplicity, but it's not any of that. It's time. It's because for one reason or another, these companies have managed to stay afloat in their business for decades. And for decades, they've been inundating us with marketing and brand imagery enough that whenever I think of sneakers, I think of Jordans with a big old swoosh on the side. Design isn't as important as you think it is. Like, I hate to say it because I'm a designer, but it really isn't. Design is a lubricant. If it looks good, it'll certainly go down a lot easier. But it isn't as important as a good business model, a good balance sheet, or good marketing. A lot of the iconic character designs that we've come to know and love are iconic partly because we've been exposed to them for a long time. Time galvanizes iconicness. Look, if Halo was a shit game that never got a sequel, none of you would be yapping about how iconic Master Chief's character design was, even though regardless of how objectively good it may be. Concord's character designs are only getting these reactions because of its insane flop on release. If Concord had a mediocre release and it just came out and the game shut down maybe a year, heck, even 6 months later, I bet you wouldn't be making these redesign videos. Case in point, nobody's making videos critiquing the designs of Battleborn. The same goes for that instant readability that everyone's harping on. Like, go show these clips to your mom and ask her if she knows what's going on. It's apparent to you because you already know what these characters do and how the game is played. It's only readable to you because you speak the language of video games. Like, we all know health potions are red and mana potions are blue because we've been playing video games for a long time. Like, just think about it. How are you supposed to know that if you didn't play video games? Like, how are you supposed to? How does it even make sense? It's something we learn over time. And that's a benefit that the character designs of Concord didn't get. It's like that pop song that sounds really bad when you first heard it, but then after a while, as you know, it just keeps getting played over and over again, it starts to become like, okay. Wake up in the morning feeling like... Look, I'm not out here to defend the designs of Concord because clearly the designs didn't resonate with, well, anybody. Like, they're flawed. I know it's flawed. Maybe it's because they beefed the marketing and we only found out about it when we found out that it was shutting down. Maybe because it took 8 years to make and the amount of changes over time have muddied the direction of the game. And no one was willing to take risks for fear of tanking an 8-year project. Ironic, I know. Maybe it's because they were trying to compete in a saturated genre of free-to-play games at $40. But you're not talking about that, are you? You're talking about how, oh, she fire mage, so why not red? Fire is red, so why she's gray, she not red? Imagine trying to make a MOBA now to compete against League of Legends and Dota and then charge $40 for it. You think any amount of character design is going to save that game? You think Johnny Spaghetti, who works 9 to 5 at Firewalk Studios, is going to make or break the game just because his character concept should have been blue instead of red? If you've worked at a company that is even remotely large, you'll understand how powerless you are to affect any change. You can complain to your coworkers all you want, but the CEO of the company ain't upgrading your HR software even though it's obviously clearly the right thing to do. Oh my god, it would save the department so much time and money. Why doesn't anyone listen? I'm sorry, but that's how it is, even in video game studios. And if you're working in the video games industry in any capacity, as an artist or a dev, whatever, you'll understand that it's a miracle that anything, let alone something good, gets made. With all the stakeholder opinions and changes in direction and mismanagement, you should know how an idea gets mutated from its concept stage all the way to its final stage. Oftentimes, for the worst. And things just get messed up, man, for reasons that aren't in your control. So don't denigrate your fellow artists because you know how hard it is. Just look at all this art. It slaps, man. It's so beautiful. It's so good, man. God, there's no way that anyone can look at this and not see the love and effort that's been put into this game. So this is a tribute to all the amazing and talented people that have worked on Concord. It's really not your fault.